So, I was looking on this website for a particular little cult of, I believe they were, from what I remember, learning about them, they were Nazi sympathizers. They were German expats who went down to South America shortly after World War II and started their own little compound community, which quickly became a cult. And a lot of German families went down there thinking they were going to start this new life. Oh my goodness, anyway. And it quickly turned very dangerous. They put up barbed wire fences all around the compound, which I'm sure they claimed made it so that people couldn't get in, but really was making it so that the people couldn't get out. And as these things tend to go, the guy in charge quickly became very cult leaderish. And he was backed by a small circle of people who were devoutly loyal to him and would do anything he said, and they were sort of his henchmen bullies. So, the point I wanted to make about all this, something that they did pretty quickly, a rule that they instated was that men and women, boys and girls, were kept separate from one another. This included husbands and wives. And they also separated the children from the parents. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of this community. I've been looking for it. You guys can do some of your own searching. It's not really the point, the community itself. It's more the point I'm trying to make here is, even though they kept husbands and wives separate and boys and girls separate from one another, and they had very harsh punishments for people who broke the rules. Quite often, they still had situations where, husbands and wives would sneak off together to meet up with one another, and or of course the teenage boys and girls would sneak off to have little trysts and stuff. And even in a very dangerous, very scary cult environment, which from what I remember, it didn't take long for the people inside the compound to start to realize how bad the situation was that they had found themselves trapped in. It says something about the animal drive to mate and to connect on a certain level with someone, with a partner, particularly to follow your instinct to procreate, to have sex, to, I think I've said enough there. So the point I wanted to make, having to do with that, is that when it comes to pedophiles and people who are attracted to children, you need to take that into account now when it comes to them. In my research, I've read over, I can't tell you how many articles and online journals, blogs written by self-professed pedophiles, and they swear up and down that they've never done anything with a child. They're adamant that they would never do anything with a child, that they understand that it's wrong, they understand that it's child abuse, and that we don't have to worry. Well, that tells me that they don't know themselves very well, that they don't understand human nature very well. It tells me that they might be even more dangerous than they think they are, certainly, and people should watch out for this. I find it very hard to believe. I would love to believe it, but I know enough about human nature and animal nature, and how strong the sex drive is, to know that it's going to be next to impossible for someone who is sexually attracted to children to go an entire lifetime without acting upon that. And certainly at some point in their lifetime, they will be given an opportunity or 2 or 3, depending on the kinds of situations they put themselves in, to act upon it. So it's very important that people understand this. I don't care how much you claim that you would never act upon it. If you're a pedophile, you're lying to me and you're lying to yourself. At some point, you will try. That's practically a given. People have risked their lives. They've risked everything in order to get a little nookie. And you guys just happen to be attracted to children. And to do what you want to do with them is abusing them. Really, what I suggest, I apologize if you find this to be harsh, but I'm, again, suggesting this in the best interest of children. You should have yourself chemically castrated. Sorry, but them's the breaks. And from what I hear, it's not permanent. It's like a pill that you continuously take. So, like, you can stop taking it at some point if they find a different cure, like, I don't know, like a laser in your brain. I don't know what they would do. But it just vastly reduces your sex drive and makes you far less likely to act on your sexual urges. So sorry, I'm not really moving anything around the screen. So this is a little, article website you can bring up if you want. I don't know if the cult is on here. I'm trying to remember what they were called. But there have been countless Nazi sympathizer German cults, and to this day there are still a good amount of German communities down in South America. They're not necessarily all cults. So yeah. And I'm trying to remember if there was anything else that I wanted to say. Yeah, like I said, I don't think I've been to Germany. Oh my, that was loud. Doors were open. I might have driven through it. I went to Switzerland once to visit an aunt and uncle and my 2 youngest cousins for a couple of weeks because we were taking my grandfather's ashes back to his hometown in France. In Letio, that's where it came from, Letio. L-E-T-H. Oh, here, I have a picture of it. L-E-T-H-I-L-L-O-T. Here it is. I was there for a weekend. See this street right here? I was standing right there at one point, and that's pretty much all there is in that town. It's just this one little street with a bunch of little shops on it. And then a bunch of, from there, it's just farmlands. Beautiful fields full of wildflowers and cows. And then little farmhouses. And I remember we went to have dinner with a distant aunt of mine, I think sort of a distant cousin of my grandfather. And she made us this incredible, 3 meat layered potato and cheese meal. Oh, it was so good. And I had frog's legs. Frog's legs are basically like watery chicken. So it's actually not bad. It's just you have to take little nibbles. Watery chicken, tiny pieces of watery chicken buffalo wings, not a lot of meat on there. But, so I think I mentioned in a past video that my dad's side of the family came over on the Mayflower. I'm a descendant through John Howland. On my mom's side, the way they came over to America from France is they fought for the French underground resistance against the Nazi soldiers during World War II. So the way I'm told that went was, of course, they weren't idiots. They knew that the German soldiers were going to be rolling up into town. any day now. And the men took off and went up into the mountains, and they went into the old mine shafts and the caves that they knew that like only the locals knew about. And they were pretty certain that the Germans wouldn't find them up there. But the women and the children stuck around in town. And when the Nazi soldiers rolled up, the women were like, hi, so our boyfriends kind of left us. Can we be like your new girlfriends? And the German soldiers were like, ooh la la, and hired the women to be like translators and secretaries and such. And then the women would gather information from the German soldiers and feed it to their husbands and brothers and fathers that were hiding out up in the mountains. And then the men would do things like disrupt supply routes and chains and deliveries and stuff like that. Which eventually, unfortunately, ended with the Germans getting wise to that and getting ticked off with it. And they organized like a search party, went up in the mountains and rooted them out, and a big battle ensued. And actually, I think I've been there too. I ate in one of these places. They have really good food there, I'll give them that. Not a lot of jobs from what I've seen, because again, it's just like these few shops. So anyway, the monument. So this monument actually has my the names of my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather. So my grandfather was like 10 or 11 years old, I think, when the war ended. At that point, his father, my great-grandfather, Lucien, whose name is on this monument, had been bludgeoned to death by German soldiers in that battle up in the mountains. And then shortly after the war ended, his mother, my great-grandmother, remarried an American soldier who moved them both stateside. The one that I always feel the worst for is Andre. Andre was my great-great-grandfather. His name's on here too, even though he didn't die in that battle. He lived long enough to see the end of the war, I believe, and he lived long enough, unfortunately, to have to identify his own son's remains, and based on his clothing and birthmarks, because they said that his face had been so messed up with the butt of a gun, a rifle, that he was unrecognizable in that way. I feel the worst for him, though, because I think Lucien was his only son. And I think that Lucien's only child was my grandfather, Michael. And after the war ended, Andre found himself with a dead son and a grandson who had been moved to the other side of the ocean and would never see again. And I grew up hearing my grandfather's stories about stuff he saw and heard during the war. And a lot of times I would think about Andre and like him just sitting there alone in a pub going, he's no son anymore, and he'll likely never see his grandson again. Just like drinking alone and telling himself like, well, at least we got those Nazi bastards. Vive la France. This gotta suck. Oh. So, yeah, sorry for my little trip down memory lane, but it's a pretty town if you guys ever want to check it out and, give it some money. They looked like they could use some money. It's very lovely, but, again, it didn't look like there were a lot of jobs there. Oh, one of those little mine shafts I was just talking about. Oh, I went to this church, too. I didn't go inside, but I walked around it and all that. The monument's right there off to the right-hand side, see? So it's cute. Ooh, that's an old one. All right, I'm going to end this one, but hopefully you guys will think on what I said to you about the human sex drive. Maybe I'll try to do a better video for this, something with an article on the human sex drive. Our animal instincts, our natural instincts to to boink, get laid. I mean, and again, if you happen to be attracted to children, I don't believe you. I don't believe you when you say that you're going to go your whole life without acting upon that animal instinct. And anyone who does believe you is a fool. And they need to think more about how human beings work, how animals work. All right. So that's that. Goodbye.